both accept, though, that, like him or loathe him, he is the US president. He did win the election, and he has to come here. The US president has to come to Britain, doesn't he, or she, at one point?
What, and we have to spend £10 million to enable him to go and play golf?
Not fair.
I don't think so.
Not fair.
Put that money into the NHS, that's where it belongs. Not looking after Donald Trump and his ilk. He's a racist, he's a fascist, he's a misogynist.
Fascist is a very strong word. I mean, it's really quite even difficult to call Donald Trump that.
He said that the fascists in Charlottesville were good, fine people. That's fascism.
I mean, he's unconventional, that's for sure. He has achieved some things. I mean, look at North Korea. You know, he has made progress in a place where other US presidents haven't.
He has, but at the same time, he's a climber. I mean, it still doesn't count. It's not fair on the others, man. He's a sexist, racist, and for that still hurts.
Is it personal for you both, or do you reject his politics?
I reject his politics, and I reject him personally. I think he's a disgusting human being, and I don't think he's fit to be president of the United States, one of the most powerful economies in the world. He's leading us into a nightmare, and on top of that, he's trying to push Theresa May into a hard Brexit and put Boris Johnson as our Prime Minister. Come on.
I was just talking about the prospect of a trade deal, which inevitably is linked to Brexit.
Yes, but he's trying to say that we should have Boris Johnson, a hard Brexiteer, as our Prime Minister. I don't think so. You know, Brexit was won on lies. Okay. Absolute lies.
So we're going to have to leave it there, Sarah and Samuel. Thanks very much. It is a good atmosphere here. It's pretty relaxed. They've been having a bit of a party as they sort of wind their way down the main streets of central London, and Trafalgar Square doesn't normally look like this. It is completely packed with protesters, and they put a lot of effort into their banners, their placards and their costumes. Let's cross to Christian Fraser, who is now at Windsor Castle, just near there.
Yes, where preparations are now well underway, Tom. Thank you very much. Just behind me, I'm going to come out of the way because the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards is just about to walk past us. They're going to be the honour guard this afternoon in the quadrangle where the Queen will be meeting President Trump. And they're going to be accompanied by Major Oliver Biggs, who is the captain of the guard. So there goes the 1st Battalion, the Coldstream Guards, which, as I say, will be the honour guard. They will be inspected by President Trump this afternoon in just over half an hour's time when he arrives here at Windsor Castle. One of the oldest units, of course, of the British Army. They've worked alongside American units in Iraq and Afghanistan, of course. President Trump this morning was with Theresa May looking at a military demonstration at Sandhurst. US and UK special forces working together on counter-terrorism measures, and that is going to be quite a sight this afternoon. And of course that's what President Trump really wanted on this trip, some of the pomp and ceremony that comes with British history, and those pictures beamed back to the United States, very much up Donald Trump's street, of course, a man who likes to be the centre of attention, and he'll be alongside those guards a little later and we'll bring you those pictures live. But let's bring in Ron Christie, Republican political strategist. When you see a sight like that, that is the best of British, isn't it?
Spectacular, and everything that Donald Trump wanted on this visit, Christian. He wanted the pomp and circumstance, and we just saw it march right behind us, and it's just the foretelling that Donald Trump will soon be here to be with the Queen.
Of course, we've said it many times, this is not a full state visit, but I suppose from Theresa May's perspective, given the special relationship, they had to put some of the red carpet treatment down because otherwise it looks like a snub.
No question about that. And what she really needed to do is frankly shore up her own political situation, and what better way to use Windsor Castle. You've got, of course, the guards that we saw. So yeah, of course that's what she wanted to do, because she wanted to give Donald Trump something that he could go home. He likes pomp and circumstances. He likes parades, and he had them last night, and he certainly had it here in Windsor. Going behind us.
When you came here with George W. Bush for the royal visit, did he put a lot of store by it? I mean, did he talk about it afterwards? How did he approach it?
He loved it. The thing that he loved, there's a great picture of George W. Bush sitting in Buckingham Palace. He's at one end of a couch, the First Lady's at the other end, and he was talking about how far apart they were, and they loved the royal circumstance. And so yes, he really enjoyed his time there, and I guarantee you Trump is going to enjoy it for the very same reason of, you're with the Queen. You're with the Queen of England.
And they all want to do it. She's met 10 of the 11 sitting presidents since the coronation in 1953. The only one that she hasn't seen is Lyndon Johnson. Of course, she had a very close relationship with Ronald Reagan. Nicholas Witchell is going to join us very shortly with saying that's because they both love horse riding, and there are some great pictures of Ronald Reagan and the Queen riding through the grounds of Windsor back in 1982. These, of course, the pictures of the Coldstream Guards who are preparing. They're on their way to the quadrangle in the centre of Windsor Castle. There is a dais that's been set up in the quadrangle, so that is where the Queen will meet President Trump. I'm told that when Marine One touches down on the lawn of the Eastern Terrace, she will then prepare to come out of the Sovereign's entrance towards the dais, and that's where she will wait for him, alongside Lieutenant Colonel Sir Andrew Ford, who's the controller of the Lord Chamberlain's office. And there will be an inspection of the guard. President Trump, we're told, will be on the Queen's left, and they'll inspect the front rank of the 1st Battalion Coldstream Guards. And then after that, they will go into the private apartments of the castle, where they will sit down and talk for tea for 30 minutes. Always a lot of protocol in these sort of occasions, so you don't sit down before the Queen sits down, you don't eat and drink before the Queen eats and drinks, and when she decides that the conversation is over and she stands up, that's when it's over. So probably President Trump will know about that protocol, but you were saying, Ron Christie, he's not a man that observes a lot of protocol. He likes vigorous handshakes, he picks dandruff off the shoulders of French presidents. Are you slightly on edge?
A little bit. I think the toughest job right now is the chief of protocol of the State Department, the official who's supposed to tell the president exactly what you just said. If the Queen stands up, you stand up. Donald Trump is used to being in charge, Christian. How is this going to work out if Donald Trump decides he's going to shake her hand first as opposed to her sticking her hand out? So I think the chief of protocol is probably a lot more nervous than Donald Trump is right now.
Although, having said that, everybody that's been in the Queen's presence ever finds an extraordinary woman, just because of the history that comes with the Queen and the people she's met, and so it can be slightly intimidating, even perhaps for a president and a person of such stature as President Trump.
No question about that. And speaking to President Bush about his visit with the Queen, he said that he found her intimidating and yet very warm and personable at the same time. He said she's a great storyteller. So what I'm looking forward to is, what stories will the Queen share with Donald Trump?
Interesting, the gift that the Prime Minister gave to the President, just as we watch the Coldstream Guards here, the gifts that they gave to him when he arrived at Chequers today. It was a family tree which plotted, it went back 3 generations through his family tree on both sides, and apparently it went back all the way to his great-great-great-grandfather, who was born in Stornoway. In what year?
1776.
Which, of course, is the year of independence. So his great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, born here in the UK in the year of independence. And that's why, Ron Christie, talks about the affinity that he has with the UK. That is real. I mean, we can talk about Brexit and what he wants out of it, whether that suits his America First policy, but the close affinity is real because of his roots.
I think that's right. I mean, he certainly has many properties in Scotland. When he leaves, of course, here, he's going to go to Scotland. He has great affinity and affection for the UK in general and Scotland in particular. So I think it was a very smart move by Theresa May to give him that very important gift.
Okay, we're just watching the Coldstream Guards lining up. As I say, that there is the Major Oliver Biggs. He is the captain of the Guard. Also going to be there today is Major General Ben Bathurst, who is the Major General that commands the Household Division. We are told that Marine One has left Winfield House, and it is on its way from the US Ambassador's residence to Windsor Castle. We understand that the transfer will be about probably around 10 minutes for him to arrive here at Windsor. He did keep the Prime Minister waiting for quite some time yesterday at Blenheim Palace. It did get a little embarrassing, we have to say, because she was stood out there for some time while they transferred him from Marine One up to the Great Court at Blenheim Palace. They won't do that today, and so the Queen will be told when Marine One has touched down, and that's the moment that she will make her way to the dais you see there behind the Coldstream Guards. That's where she will receive him when he arrives here. We'll keep an eye on that helicopter as we watch these pictures. Just let's dip in though to a little bit of what Jeremy Corbyn, the opposition leader, Labour leader, was saying a little earlier about the visit. Let's have a listen.
Well, his visit has been an odd one. He hasn't met any ordinary people in Britain at all. He hasn't visited anywhere other than a dinner at Blenheim Palace and a visit to Chequers and apparently golf with his son in Scotland. I wish him well with the golf, but I wish there'd been an opportunity for him to understand something about our society. But his comments about Sadiq Khan are completely unacceptable, and his apparent endorsement of somebody as a rival to Theresa May, it's the greatest respect not his business who the British Prime Minister is.